All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to GP Tuesday. We have a very special week this week at GP Tuesday. What is GP Tuesday? We are a community of AI enthusiasts, engineers, product managers, and the like. We are researchers, and we are every week educating the public more about how we use AI in our daily lives and help educate the world so that everyone can stay ahead of this rapidly advancing wave of AI. So, before I talk too much, I just want to, just get right into this and introduce Natalia. She's a brilliant person. She's been here for many, many weeks, really a staple of our community. So I just want to welcome Natalia, and I really look forward to your presentation. She works at CMA, CGM as a data analyst, as well as an advisory consultant in the past for PwC. So with that, let's give it up for Natalia.
Thank you. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about the AI landscape. So we will cover some core concepts and then we will go more into prompt engineering. So some ground rules. If at any time you have anything you need to clarify, feel free to interrupt. And also please add your insights. You have some amazing AI experts through today are some core concepts about AI, the industry impact of AI the past few years, some trending topics we keep hearing about like bias, privacy, explainable AI, and finally about prompt engineering, some techniques. So about the core concept, can you hear me?
Yes.
Core concept. Okay, so first I want to start with artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is actually a very old concept. Actually, artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines. So the first time that the initiation of artificial intelligence is considered to be the Turing test in the 1950s. Do you guys know what the Turing test? Does anyone here know what the Turing test is? Well, say something. Yeah.
I think, sorry, it's a little hard for me.
Yeah.
I don't know about other people, but you maybe have to hold the mic up or turn. I don't know if the volume is a little louder. I think that's.
No?
There we go. Yes.
Can we?
Oh, sure.
Thanks. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now we
much
can hear.
better.
We can hear it.
Okay, great.
Before, yeah.
So do you want to tell us about the Turing test?
Sure. The Turing test is, can a computer fool a person to appear to be a person?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
I'm like her. If you guys can project your voice a little louder so we can hear it a little clearly.
Yeah. So basically, that's the theory that we have humans, we have computers, and we have this human interrogator that tries to understand whether it speaks to a human or to a computer. So this was considered a good basis of the of AI and understanding computers. So the second moment I want to highlight was ELIZA. So ELIZA was introduced in 1966. In 1966, there was already an MIT artificial intelligence laboratory. Mind you, we didn't even have personal computers back then, and there was already an artificial intelligence laboratory. So, do you guys want to share something about ELIZA? Have you heard about ELIZA?
Yeah, she was. It was a program that was designed to be like a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it had this.
But the thing about it is that the Weizenbaum left for the evening, and there's one of his students that came and saw the terminal and started talking to Eliza. and he had a conversation that lasted like a couple of hours, I think. And in the morning, he said, "Oh, Eliza was great, and she told me so many things." He didn't realize that it was an AI. So
Yeah.
but it was basically repeating what you were saying. It was nowhere near, but it fooled him.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah,
it's crazy.
so basically it understands some patterns, so it can understand what you're talking about, and then it generates some general responses and questions, so it can keep the conversation going. And the most important application was that of the psychotherapist. There was a script of the psychotherapist where it could understand, like here, is something troubling you? It is asking, men are like, okay, what is the connection, do you suppose? Like, it kind of understands some patterns and creates responses that seem like a psychotherapist. So one could have a conversation back then with AI. And finally, like the third moment I think was important in AI was Deep Blue in 1997. That was basically the first time a computer could win the reigning world chess champion, which was crazy. It was played by Okay, so now we talked about AI, but what about machine learning? Machine learning is this subset of AI that is focused on algorithms. And we have three basic techniques of machine learning. We have the supervised learning, where the model is trained in the API data. For example, a spam filter, users categorize some emails as spam or non-spam, and then when we get a new email, we can recognize that this email address is probably going to be a spam email, so it goes directly to the spam folder. The second one is unsupervised learning. Here we have unlabeled data, so the filter needs to identify some patterns. For example, let's say we have a pet shop, and we have some information about customers who are buying dog food or plastic dog bones. We have some others buying premium cat cans and luxury toys for kicking mice and anything else. So then the model will start to understand that probably these people who buy the dog food and the bones are one cluster, and then the others with the cats are another. So then we can use this cluster to make recommendations about what we want to say to these customers. And finally, we have reinforcement learning, where basically we have an agent that makes decisions, and then we have the environment that comes to give a word for these decisions. For example, let's say we have a robot. The robot needs to learn how to walk. Every time the robot goes ahead and passes from the door, it gets 1 point, and every time it hits the wall, it loses 1 point, and at the end, the robot learns how to actually not hit the wall. And also on this, we have deep learning. Deep learning is this subset of machine learning that uses neural networks with many layers for more complex data. So these are some basic words we keep hearing around, so I wanted to take them all here so we can all be on the same page. And finally, some last core concepts I wanted to talk to you about is generative AI and large language models. So Gen AI and large language and LLMs are, many people consider them to be the same, but basically Gen AI is everything. It can be text, can be images, can be music, when LLMs are only text. Basically that's the difference. And we have some techniques. We have the GANs, where we have the generator, we have the discriminator, and basically the generator creates the data and the discriminator evaluates it, so we can go and iterate until the generator creates something that is accepted from the discriminator. Then we have the transformers. We've talked a lot about transformers here. It's for text. So we have the encoder, we have the coder, and we have all these attention layers where information passes through. Okay. So that's about the core concept. Is everything clear? Do you have something to add? Something different? No?
Excuse me.
Yeah?
What is this section pertaining to in the AI? Because I'm new to it. I'm trying to learn how to utilize AI with my business. So this topic is about what exactly?
So this section is more some core concepts, some keywords about AI that we keep hearing, and an effort to
So it's
have
basically breaking down, like,
yeah.
okay.
So we can all be on the same page on the words we're using here. Okay, so some industry impact and real world applications. So basically why I love AI is because it gets all the work that I don't want to do done. So it's automating our repetitive tasks, data entry, report generation, customer service responses. It can basically do anything, and companies are using it more and more. Also the accuracy, we're human, we're making mistakes. With AI, with technology in general, okay, of course some mistakes will be made, but generally speaking, there will be less, so it's a big win. And finally, about decision making, AI is taking decisions for us already. The accuracy of these decisions is something that needs to be discussed technically, but we will talk about it later in this presentation. So I wanted to ask you, how have you been using AI in your day-to-day work? How has it taken you? Yeah.
I was using it today. So at Oracle, we use something called Cohere, and we were dealing with a production issue, and I needed to look up the server error 499. So the server will return errors. 499 is not something common, so I look it up, and it did a hallucination. And my director was on the call, and it said, "Oh, 499 is when the client blocks the request." And he's like, "I never heard that before. Can you send a link to that?" I'm like, "Oh snap! There's no link. This is synthetic. This is synthetic." So luckily he was so busy that he forgot. But I'm like, shoot, I gotta be careful not to use this. Like, don't trust it. So like, there's no link to that. It's like, oh, let me send you a screenshot of me using a AI. But for the most part, depending on the model, if you get a better model, it's probably more accurate. Like 4.0 from OpenAI is like way better.
Which one were you using?
I was using Cohere.
Oh, right.
Because we're not allowed to use OpenAI at Oracle. Like, you get
I was
get in
wondering,
a lot of trouble.
you're allowed to use it.
Yeah, but the reason why we're using it, we're developing products for that. Like we have access to the weights of the model, so we're trying to do that. But that's just a little story from today.
Sorry, what is Cohere?
Cohere is another one of these AI companies that are building models for commercial use. Yeah. So.
Do you find that Cohere is like more cogent?
No, it's horrible. I prefer ChatGPT.
That's funny because their advertisement is that it's able to reason a lot better than OpenAI.
You can mess around with the parameters, but I learned recently that you can mess around with the parameters with OpenAI too. So
for sure.
Yeah, I prefer, honestly, OpenAI is the best so far and Claude.
Yeah.
From Anthropic. Those two are the top two. So Claude 3 is the model that Anthropic makes.
Yeah, and I've been using it for a few different use cases. One would be, just for my work, right? For creating logs that, reach a certain amount of megabytes, and then have it to clear it, and then essentially just like keep adding on to that. Just ask ChatGPT 4.0 for a nice guideline of how to do that, just so I can speed up the productivity, and also to improve my emails. So usually, right? Yeah. Usually I'll write a general email first, right? How I would write it, and then I just ask ChatGPT or Claude. These days I use Claude for anything that is about creative writing or anything like this. For some feedback on my email, give me a few pointers of how to improve it, right? And then based on those recommendations for my email, execute those recommendations on my email. And then it usually does that, and it just did this yesterday, and it made my email just 10 times better. So, especially for a longer form.
Yeah, of course, and I have some problems at the end about how to make her text better. Yeah, and here I have some cases about healthcare, for diagnosis, for example, finance, is a big thing, manufacturing, retail. So I wanted to share with you, actually there is this pretty amazing Forbes article that goes through many stats related to AI. And these are the 4 categories that people see the most value from using AI. And it's customer service. So business owners reported that 56% of them are using AI for customer service, 51% for cybersecurity and fraud management, digital personal assistance, and customer relationship management was also very high. And I think these are applications we're pretty much all using right now. So it really helps. For some trending topics, first we have privacy. So basically, it's a huge thing. We give these models so much data, and the question is, how will these models handle our data ethically and legally? So some best practices are to have encryption, access controls, and secure data storage for all our data. Also, when we're running analysis on people's data, of course, all the data needs to be anonymized. Also, some clear privacy policies that we can all understand and the users will agree to, and if the terms are updated, then the users need to be always notified about these changes. And finally, there is more and more regulation around the AI, so of course we need to take the regulation into consideration. So the 3 considerations, the 3 that I actually think about a lot are identity theft. I mean, by now I'm pretty sure I've uploaded to ChatGPT at least 1 document that has my social security number on it, so I don't want anyone to have my social security number, right, and use it and have my data and act as me. So I think it's very important how they're handling the data. Impersonation, that's also, like, there are so many videos of us out there. At this moment, it's getting easier and easier to actually create a video where you will see me saying something that I never said in a different, totally different context. So it's a huge consideration, like how we will handle this. And unwanted surveillance, like, we don't want a big brother. We want our personal information to stay personal. So that's a big consideration. How can we ensure that all the information that we have out there will actually stay personal? And here is like the biggest thing is how to find the balance between using all this innovation and actually protecting our privacy. So I don't know if you heard about anything, any privacy-related matters or any stories you would share about it, or I can just continue. So the second very important matter is bias. So we see often some bias in our system. It can either be from the data, because sometimes we only have specific data we can train the model from, so the model only recognizes that data. We have some algorithmic bias when the algorithm is not properly created. And finally, we have some human bias when either the developers or the users have some biases and interpret data in the wrong way. So do you have some examples of biases you've heard about? I think we all keep hearing about some biases from these models. Do you have anything you want to share, to discuss?
I remember during one of Itai's presentations, he was working on Gabrielle, and when he was working on Gabrielle, it would automatically configure the woman to be. He was going for someone intellectual, like conversational, and the bias would essentially imagine her in a much not in that way, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so bias in that form. So you have to really make sure that comes out in the business friendly way.
Yeah, and we keep seeing these examples. For example, in Shakespeare, we have a lot of data that are from specific groups of people. So it's not like the same solutions that work for them will not work for the other groups. Predictive policing, again, for example, maybe some groups that where we're targeting some communities with higher recorded crime rates, so maybe we're marginalizing some groups. Then with hiring, sometimes companies have its databases of pre-existing employees, and they're using the data from their other employees. So they just keep selecting the same candidates over and over. These models keep selecting very similar profiles of people. So to mitigate the AI bias, we need, of course, diverse and representative data. We need to be able to detect and correct the data. We can have some audits to our data to do that. We need to have some transparency and accountability on the data we're using. Inclusive development teams of the people who work in the teams, and if we can also have some ethicists, for example, some social scientists, then this would make our models even better. And of course, ethical guidelines and regulations, as always, are there, and we can follow them. And finally, about explainable AI. So there are three core concepts. Basically, the AI needs to make decisions, and some of them are very important. For example, when we have some big medical decisions, we have some big legal decisions, even some financial data. We need to understand how the AI decided that we should follow this route, and be confident that it's the correct idea. So we have to make the decision easy for a human to interpret it. We have to make the process transparent to the human, and we also need to justify logically what we are doing. And two things that keep happening, and we're seeing always, are the AI hallucinations. Like we get some information for the AI, we often find out that at the end it's not correct, so we have to find a way to actually double check if the information is correct. And sometimes also there is that thing that we get correct decisions, but from incorrect correlations. So there was this example I was saying that there were some wolves and some huskies. And yes, the model could identify if it was a picture of a wolf and the pictures of huskies. The model could predict if it would be a wolf or a husky. But it turns out that the way it did that was the wolves usually had the huskies usually had snow in the background, so it would just see the background, and if the background was white, then it would say, oh, okay, it's a husky. So yeah, it's a good idea to actually understand how our models work, so that we won't have So yeah, we will actually get the correct solution every time. And here is the big consideration, like how we can make our models understand, how we can make our, how can we understand, and also keep our models complex enough so that they can give us good decisions. Because if the model is simple enough, yes, we'll probably understand, but we don't want simple models, we want the accelerator models to be the best out there. So in order to do that, we have there are two different categories. We can dive into this very deeply, but like for now, on a high level, we have two categories of explainable AI. First is the implicit interpretability, where basically we're saying that the model is simple enough for us to understand. For example, in a linear regression, we can understand how we make the decision, we have the weights, we understand that if we put more weight there, and this input will matter more, it's easy for us. Decision trees, again, we have the branches, we can see the probabilities, it's pretty simple. But of course, most models are not that simple. So we have this post hoc explainability, where we have a line. So in line, we actually understand that the model is very complicated. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to take a specific group, a specific instance, and try to understand this specific output, what it's coming from. So we will basically take some very similar inputs and produce the output, and we'll try to understand this particular case, how it works, how this model works for these types of inputs. So we'll just simplify enough we won't get the whole limits of the model, we just get the specific test case, and we know how it works. And then we have sub. So here we're trying to see how each individual member of the input actually affects the output. So we're basically trying to weigh each input in the final output by removing the inputs one by one and trying to see the difference in the output. So both of these models use the model, the AI model as a black box, and just come to understand some parts of it. And finally, about prompt engineering. So the thing with prompt engineering is that it's very new. We don't have a specific formula that fits everything. There are many different ideas and approaches. My approach and the way I think, the way it works for me at least, is to first always have a very clear task, context, and boundaries. So task, we want to explain what we need to do. Context, we need to explain, to give all the information that are related to the task so that our model can actually perform. And finally, boundaries, it might be the format of the response we're looking for, it might be the length. So we're trying to explain exactly what we're expecting to get out of it. Some other things we can add is that we can ask our model to adopt a persona. I use this a lot. Like, for example, answer as, I have this question, please answer as Elon Musk. So it's like you have a mentor who can be always there next to you and help you. Also providing some examples about what exactly you want to see as a result. If you already know the format, for example, of the response, or you already have some, you're making a list of bullet points and you already have 2 of them, so you can always give them as examples and ask for some more. Here, these are mostly on the ChatGPT's guidelines on how to prompt. I have the link here. We'll share the slides with you after. And ChatGPT is asking us to use the limiters to indicate the input. For example, we can say, oh, I write this text. We can reference the text and say that it will have, you will see the text within the XML tags or within triple quotes, so that the model does not waste any power actually trying to understand which is the text that you're referring to. Also, we can provide the reference text. For example, we can say that I give you these 3 papers. We uploaded papers, so please respond based on these papers, and also please quote and reference exactly which parts of the papers you're using, so we can go and check and make sure it's not hallucinating. Also, I think I like to do, and I used to do a lot in the beginning, is to ask for any information that the model needs. So after I finish my prompt and I have my past context and boundaries and anything else I decide to add, I go back and ask it, like, is there anything else you would like to know to give me the best response possible? So many times it would come back and explain and ask me for something that was not very clear. And finally, okay, this is obvious, but avoid leading the answer. If I tell the model that I am thinking of buying pink shoes and ask it, like, okay, what do you think? Like, what type of shoes they buy? Okay, it will probably come back ask the same thing. So it's a good idea to make sure that you do not include something in your prompt that could actually make the model go in a specific way. And then after you have your response, it's important to give it feedback if you want something different for this prompt or for future prompts in the same chat. Also, ask the model if it missed anything on previous passes. I do this a lot when I have a lot of information to produce, and I know that it's possible that it will miss some information in the first pass, so I'm proactively asking it before reading the text it gives me to go back and check to see if there is something that is missing. And finally, asking for step-by-step explanations. So many times the responses we get are huge. We want to break down the response and go step by step and fully understand how it got there and get some more information on specific parts. Is there something else that you are doing that I didn't mention here? Some best practices you want to share with us? Yes?
I use it a lot for like copying, like editing, like text. So sometimes it'll be very verbose, so I'll say stuff like, don't make it as verbose, or make it very straight to the point, remove adjectives. That tends to help with what I get back from them.
Yeah, actually I have a prompt in the next slide. I have some prompts, and I have something very similar because I also use that a lot. It really makes a difference. Yes?
Yeah, usually I end up like, I love this, adopting a persona, giving it a role, you're an expert at Python or whatever, right? I also love giving it rules depending on, certain criteria. But what's interesting is recently I found out AI is pretty interesting. It works pretty well with how-to guides. So sometimes I'll say like a how-to in a conversational markdown with like 2 asterisks or something, and it's works surprisingly well. So it's like how to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think setting the tone and context is just so important. Like, you can't just ask it like a basic question. I take the rule, this may sound crazy, but I don't care, but I'm always very nice to it when I talk to it. I find that when I speak to it as if like I'm talking to a person, like I get a better response. So I treat the model, if it's a LLM, like it's learning from humans, right? And how we communicate. And so that is a drastic difference between like how I was using it maybe 2.5 years ago to today. So that's like one of the strategies. But I love the way you easily summarize adopting a persona. So like I use AI a lot as a tutor. So like I'm learning different languages and stuff. Or if I'm trying to like get better at Python or whatever language I'm learning at the time. And so yeah, being kind to it and then providing context and giving personas is really, really helpful.
Yeah, I remember like more than a year ago now that someone told me that there was actually a study that was proving that if you actually say all the please and thank yous to your model, the information you get is more accurate.
It's way more accurate.
I always say please and thanks, but
Me too.
I don't know if it makes any difference. But yeah.
Why would it make any difference? Why?
I gotta ask the developer.
Right.
Yeah,
It's almost like a human.
Ask the
so,
developer
like,
why they do that.
Right.
Is it true?
They might remember it was nice.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I think it depends on the context of what you're also using it for. So like if you're using better, or I guess you could say kind, or so I'm from Georgia, like Southern hospitality is our thing.
Right.
So like if I look at it as like an instructor, right? The way I would speak to my Spanish instructor as an a-hole versus like someone who's like very thoughtful with my words, like I do get a better response. So I think that's more of it versus like, oh, I just want to make Ariana happy. Like I don't think it's that, but I do think it does make a difference. I've seen how it does.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree.
the way
I've
that
seen,
the large language models work is that it's what's called a mass probability model. It takes the input data is just a bunch of strings. It's masking different elements of the string and trying to complete it. That's the way that the training regime works. So polite sentences might work better because there just might be more human polite sentences in the input data, so that when you're more polite, it's able to retrieve and reconstruct the pertinent information better, because that's part of the training regime.
So you're saying a lot of the content on the internet that was trained with...
Because it's well, for OpenAI, it's opaque what the input data is, but let's say it's Common Crawl, it's just going to be like, you know, whatever like it is that you and my, if it's a tutor, for instance, the tutor would speak presumably more polite to them. Now, if they had trained it on like Twitter data or something like that, and that was like the vast majority, that strategy likely wouldn't work.
Which I believe they have, so it really depends on the context, right? I'm really toxic to mine, right?
Yeah, you'd have to be toxic. Maybe that's what Elon's going to do.
So if you're on Grok, you have to insult it.
Yeah.
To get the best.
It's pouring down.
So maybe depending on the topic, we can have a different approach to the way we speak to our model. So the four main things I use AI for is to learn something new, to get some advice from an expert, to summarize or to paraphrase. So to learn, a formula I like to use is to say that I am a complete beginner. Please give me the 20% of the learnings that will give me the 80% of that will make me understand 80% of the subject. Or to create some, for example, a 30-day learning plan that will help me learn fast. Getting advice from expert. Again, assume you're a Python expert, any figure, you know. Use all the knowledge available to give you information, or read my argument and give me some feedback. Also, to solve some problems, assume you're an amazing problem solver. Give me details here, for example, I specify that I want 500 words step-by-step guide and 3 action points on the being very specific, so it's easier for the model to give me exactly the information that I'm looking for. Also summarizing, again, how many words we want, create sections for important points, brief summaries for points, key concepts, context indications. Like we can explain exactly what we need and get the type of summary we're looking for. Also uses a lot for some books. There are many business books, for example, that I've read over the years that I don't really remember. So if you just give the title of the book, it actually can give you a very good summary of the book. So I really recommend it if you were thinking of maybe reading a new book or remember a book. It's pretty great. And finally, paraphrasing. Proofread my writing, fix grammar and spelling mistakes, add the suggestions to improve clarity of my writing. It's something like this. It's a phrase. Actually, I have this tag with ChatGPT where I have this. I started with this prompt in the beginning, and I said I will give you some pieces of text, and for every one of them, I can do that. And also, again, that was the example with make my text more formal, more exciting, more energetic, or write it in the writing style of an author. So we can explain exactly the kind of text that we will get as a response. And finally, some general prompt engineering resources. I found this prompt the other day. It's actually a prompt to create prompts. I don't think we can do this every time, but if we actually want to create a very important prompt, or if we want if we're new in AI and we want to learn how to make prompts, I think it helps. So you explain that you want a prompt that will be used by ChatGPT. First, you will ask me about the topic or subject of the prompt. Now you will give me a revised prompt, and you will ask me some questions so that we can make the prompt even better. So then we iterate, and you keep giving me revised prompts, and you're asking me questions until we have the perfect prompt that we can basically use and get the exact response we're looking for. And here I have three resources. So we have the hacking face prompt. Okay, so I will give you the slides. So we have this hacking face prompts. It's nice. It's almost all of them are starting with giving AI a persona and then asking a specific question. So they're categorized by specific areas. Then we have data feed. Again, we have some prompts and they're voted, so you can go and see the prompts with higher votes and select those. And then there is this Reddit link, Getting Started with Prompt Engineering, that also provides a lot of different resources. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you. This is the link if you want to know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
That was amazing.
All right, thank you so much, Natalia. That was an amazing presentation. Let's give it up one more time for Natalia. Thank you so much. Yeah, so GP Tuesday is a weekly community group. We have, every week we have education about AI and how we can use it in our daily lives, and also just learning more about AI generally. We provide that every single week. We have an amazing community here. People that are deep within the industry, people that are looking to learn more. So please, during every one of these sessions, talk with everyone here. Everyone here is so wonderful, so kind, and we really enjoy conversations here and getting to know each other and finding out ways that we can help each other. And you know, one of the things that I would like to ask of you is if anyone has any pictures or anything like this, please post that online, Twitter, LinkedIn, or just send that to the community group. We'll be more than happy to post that or reshare your posts and everything. So again, thank you so much. We also have a Telegram group. If anyone wants to join us, we have about all of us are in there, around 200 of us right now, and still growing. So if you have any questions about AI and maybe looking to learn more information, you can ask any questions there. But again, Natalia, that was a great presentation. I think all of us learned more about AI, prompt engineering, about some of the trending topics like privacy, and other subjects like all the different parts of machine learning, like supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. So again, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and open up the Telegram community chat on the screen here, and go ahead and let's get networking and talking. Looking forward to talking with each of you individually. So have a good one.
Are you going to send the slides, Grant? Are you going to send the slides?
Oh yeah, so we'll go ahead and send those slides into the community group, Telegram, yeah, and we'll share it on LinkedIn and Twitter and everywhere else you can find us. So, thank you so much. Any other questions?
I had one actually. Just on the, one of your examples was the your prompt advice. It's the 500, detailed 500 word step by step. Is that, yeah, I found it's interesting with Chat GPT at least that if you ask it to count from 1 to 500, it can do that. That's an easy problem. But when I've tried to get it to summarize to a specific number of words, it seems actually it's very bad at that. And I'm not sure if anyone else has experienced that.
There's a guy on YouTube, I forget his name. He tests models, and that's like one of the things he gives. It like he asks, like, all right, there's 3 murders in the room, and one guy kills another. How many murders are there? Stuff like that. That's one of the tests. And I noticed that a problem with these models is it's not able to predict the number of words, but it's getting better. I think Llama 3, the big one, is able to do it, if I'm not mistaken. Or Claude, I forget which one he tested. But it's depending on which model you use, it might be able to do it. So do you know which model you were using?
It's actually my friend has a company which summarizes, which creates report cards for children in schools in the UK, and they have to be under a certain number of words. So he's baked into his thing, try to make it under 500 words, and it fails. So he told me this. So I wanted to see if anyone else had experienced it. I haven't actually haven't tested it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's not necessarily always super precise. It can be very probabilistic, but one of the ways that I addressed that was to make it so that you just do like through a Python function, just is it less than a certain number of words, right? So I find out a way to calculate that, and then you can retry that prompt a few times.
So if you're paying for GPT, you can use Codeform. Codeform, if you ask it to create a program to count how many words are in it, it will create inside the tool. Right? So it will count the words for you. So I'll say use Codeform to make sure that this is under 500 words. And it will actually give you an exact count right there inside of GPT. Actually, I can show it to you.
In general, because like I said before, the language models, they're just trying to complete the characters. They have there's no notion of
it's creating a probability distribution.
It doesn't understand anything. So actually what this gentleman said is correct. When you want to make it do something useful, the trick is to have it write a program. Because then it has to go into formal language programming, which has some bounds and rules. And then within there, you can do some things that are like practical, and then take that answer out. So it serves as like a calculator in a way, a very sophisticated calculator. That's the big thing in research right now.
The problem that you're gonna have is if your friend is doing a beta API, you're not gonna have the same type of control, same level of control that you ChatGPT. But we could discuss it.
I was just interested. I
have a question. Has anybody tried guesstimating the number of tokens for words and then just passing that as a constraint in the prompt itself?
So reverse tokenizing?
Like just saying like this is how many, like respond with a maximum of this many tokens, rather than saying maximum number of words. And
I've never decoded tokens, because here's the thing, the output that you receive isn't always, there might be other tokens you're not seeing, right?
Yeah.
Like so sometimes, if you put 10 words in, you think you be getting 10 words back, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background, right? The system prompt there's other things that's going on in the background. It might be refeeding some of the old information. So I wouldn't think that's an accurate way to do it.
Okay.
Easiest way to do it within ChatGPT is to use Codeform, because it creates a program right there on the spot, and it will take the input, run it through it. Like if you can tell ChatGPT to do a lot of things, like change from a JPEG to a GIF, or turn a Word document into a text file. Just like you can say count the number of words in this, So that's probably the easiest way to do it. Get around it.
Yeah, he's right. but if you download the foundation models from Hugging Face, you will get just the tokens from the foundation models. So it may be able to do that. But to his point, when you use ChatGPT or Claude, you're actually using like 2 or 3 models.
Yeah.
There's the foundation model, which gives the raw output, and then there's a weaker model that creates like a simulacrum that it's like a person.
Oh, I see.
And then
So a layer on top of the
yeah,
model.
yeah. But that part is sort of unclear, like,
Yeah.
to us as the end user.
So, yeah.
Okay, that was very interesting.
Great, thank you.
You're a prompt engineer.
Ariana,